Welcome to ComfortTV.channel news, bringing you verified and balanced news from Nigeria and around the world. I am Faith Kevin. Thanks for joining us again. In the headlines, Ekiti Cargo Airport gets approval for commercial flight operations. INEC has over 6.8 million Nigerians completed voter registration. Nigeria lost over 600,000 barrels of oil to Penngassan'S 3-day strike. Pressure mounts on President Tinubu as senior lawyers, activists, others demand Naji's sack. Fabio Kalu leads call for overhaul of Nigeria's constitution to rescue democracy. CP orders clamp down on uncompleted buildings and criminal hideouts in the FCT. On business news, CBN assumes full control of fixed income operations. Northern Elders secure $10 billion for mining, agricultural power. On the foreign scene, Syrian army US-backed Kurdish rebels signs truce after fighting in Aleppo. Gaza peace talks enter second day on 2-year anniversary of the beginning of the war. On sports, 4 Benin players ruled out of Rwanda-Nigeria clashes. And under 17 Women World Cup, Flamingos set to depart to Morocco. Now the news. The federal government has approved the commencement of commercial flight operations at the Ekiti Agro-Allied International Cargo Airport. Commercial flight operations are effective October 4, 2025. The Chief Press Secretary to the Governor, Yinka Oyebode, confirmed the development in a statement on Tuesday, describing it as a major milestone for the state's economy. Oyebode added that the airport is at an advanced stage of installing an instrument landing system to enable night and all-weather operations. The state governor, Biodun Oyebanjo, hailed the approval. Oyebanjo stated that the commencement of commercial operations at the airport will boost agribusiness, tourism development, commercial activities, and medical tourism, which will further position the state as a destination of choice for people looking for where to live, work, invest, and relax. The approval followed the expiration of an earlier permit for non-scheduled flights in December 2024 and was granted after a validation inspection by the Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority in June 2025. Following the approval, Oyebanji expressed gratitude to President Bola Tinubu for supporting socio-economic development, as well as former Governor Kayode Fayemi, who initiated the airport project in 2019. Legal luminary Are Afe Babalola and members of the airport committee for their contributions. The airport, launched in 2019, had previously operated only non-scheduled flights until the new approval. The Independent National Electoral Commission reports that a total of 6.85 million Nigerians have registered for the pre-online registration in the ongoing nationwide continuous voter registration as of October 5. INEC stated this in its Week 6 update cited on the INEC website on Tuesday. The Commission stated that 3.58 million of the figure, representing 52.23%, were female, while 3.27 million, representing 47.77%, were male. They explained that tab 4,689,637 of the pre-online registrations consisted of youths between the ages of 18 and 34, adding that 1,728,384 were students, while 154,479 were persons living with disabilities. On the physical registration, INEC disclosed that a total of 1,216,048 Nigerians had completed their registrations as of October 5. The Commission said that the completed registration figure includes 658,766 individuals who completed their process after initial online pre-registration and 557,282 who registered solely through the physical process. The data shows that of the total figure, 675,222 were females, representing 55.53%, while 540,826 were males, accounting for 44.47%. INEC also stated that the youth participation remained dominant, with youths aged 18 to 34 accounting for 897,676 of the completed registrations. A further breakdown of the occupations of the persons showed that students made up a significant portion, with 424,126 completed registrations during the 6th week. The Commission confirmed that 17,450 PWDs successfully completed their registrations during the period under review. The Group Chief Executive Officer of the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, NNPC, Bayo Ojulari, has disclosed that Nigeria lost 200,000 barrels per day of crude oil to the recent strike action embarked upon by nation's oil workers, culminating in a total of over 600,000 barrels during the 3-day supply disruptions. The Petroleum and Natural Gas Senior Staff Association, Penngassan'S, had last month directed its members to embark on strike in the wake of a face-off with the management of Dangote refineries over the reported sack of 800 workers. Reacting to the effect of the 3-day strike action on the oil industry, Ojulari stated that the industrial action had a telling effect on the production capacity of the NNPC. The GCEO, who spoke with newsmen after meeting with President Bola Tinubu in Lagos while describing the strike action as unfortunate, stated that Nigeria has recently achieved a 7 billion cubic feet BCF of gas. He, however, expressed happiness that the crisis had been resolved through the timely intervention of the federal government via the Federal Ministry of Labor and the Office of the National Security Advisor, NSA. Ojulari added that he is pleased the federal government could handle the issue. He further stated that Nigeria had been able to step up crude oil production with effect from last month, saying 1.68 million barrels per day were produced in September 2025, while 7 billion cubic feet of gas was also produced per day during the same period. He attributed the current hike in price of cooking gas to the artificial scarcity caused by the recent Penngassan'S strike, but expressed hope that the price will stabilize before long with the resolution of the crisis. Meanwhile, the NNPC has once again raised the pump price of premium motor spirit PMS, popularly known as petrol, at its retail outlets as light queues returned following the Penngassan and Dangote hiatus. It was learned that NNPC stations in Abuja, especially in Wuse Zone 6 and Zone 4 areas, had adjusted their pump price from 890 naira to 905 naira per litre, representing a 15 naira increase or roughly 1.7% upward review. The president of the Independent Petroleum Marketers Association of Nigeria, IPMAN, Abubakar Gandhi, attributed the latest price hike to recent supply disruption caused by the standoff between Penngassan and the Dangote refinery. Pressure has continued to mount on President Bola Tinubu to break his silence on the perjury case against the Minister of Innovation, Science and Technology, Chief Uche Nnaji, as senior lawyers, activists, as well as opposition political parties and leaders called for a thorough probe and resignation or removal of the presidential aide. This followed revelations that the University of Nigeria, Nsukka UNN, and the National Youth Service Corps NYSC disowned the academic and service certificates he presented during his Senate screening in 2023. But the minister yesterday refuted allegations of certificate forgery against him, alleging that it was politically motivated and well-crafted by a governor to tarnish his reputation ahead of the 2027 governorship election in Enugu State. The alleged forgery gained national attention after UNN, in a letter dated October 2, 2025, stated that it did not issue the Bachelor of Science (BSc) degree certificate in biochemistry and microbiology, which the minister claimed to have obtained in July 1984. Reacting to the development, a senior advocate of Nigeria, Sanjay Sowemimo, described the allegations as serious and called for an independent investigation. Similarly, Professor Kunyisola Ajayi-San advised that the minister should do the honorable thing and resign if the allegations are substantiated after due inquiry. Similarly, in a statement by its spokesperson Bolaji Abdullahi on Monday, the African Democratic Congress ADC blamed President Bola Tinubu for the continued stay in office of the minister, saying that if the minister is not honorable enough to resign, the Tinubu administration should remove him from office. President of the Senate, Godswill Akpabio, has addressed the growing demand for state policing, clarifying that it should not be viewed as rebellion, represented by Senate Chief Whip Senator Mohammed Tahir Monguno. The Senate President urged caution to ensure that efforts to enhance national security do not infringe on civil liberties. Also, the Deputy Speaker of the House of Representatives, Honorable Benjamin Kalu, has emphasized the urgent need for a revised constitution that not only permits democracy but also actively supports and empowers it. They both made the call during a consultative session with political party leaders organized by the House Committee on Constitution Review yesterday in Abuja. Akpabio reiterated the National Assembly's commitment to working with the executive and other stakeholders to develop a constitution that reflects Nigeria's current needs. He described the consultative meeting as historic, not merely procedural, and assigned that Nigeria's democracy remains responsive and evolving. He also identified key constitutional issues under review, such as judicial reforms, electoral reforms, local government autonomy, women's representation, state policing, and human rights, noting that these are central to a functioning democracy. He emphasized that compromised elections erode public trust and delayed justice undermines confidence in the legal system. Akpabio called for institutional reform, including strengthening the INEC, the Independent National Electoral Commission, and safeguarding the judiciary from corruption. He cited examples from India and South Africa, noting that Nigeria could learn from other democracies not by copying them but by adapting relevant principles. On gender inclusion, he asserted that democracies which exclude women are weaker, citing Rwanda and Finland as examples of countries where female participation in governance has led to strong institutions. Kalu, during his remarks, expressed concern over the relevance of Nigeria's current constitution, stating that the democratic ideals envisioned 26 years ago has not been fully realized. He reflected on Nigeria's return to democratic governance under the 1999 Constitution, noting it was a time of great hope, aimed at building a Nigeria governed by rule of law, justice, and people-centered institutions. He pointed to issues such as the underrepresentation of women, the weak state of local government, and prolonged electoral disputes as evidence that the vision of a truly cooperative democracy remains unfulfilled. So the Inter-Party Advisory Council, IPAC, advocated the return of direct constitutional funding for political parties, arguing that equitable funding was crucial to promoting fair competition in elections. But in spite of the significance of the event, top leaders from major parties such as the APC, PDP, ADC, and Labour Party were absent, although women leaders from these parties were present. IPAC Chairman Alhaji Yusuf Dantali represented the Council's recommendations on constitutional and electoral reforms. These include changes to the judiciary, restructuring of local governments, increased representation for women, the establishment of state policing, and stronger protection of human rights. The Commissioner of Police, Federal Capital Territory, Ajao Adewale, has ordered immediate raids on uncompleted buildings and suspected criminal hideouts across Abuja as part of renewed efforts to tackle rising insecurity in the nation's capital. The directive, which takes effect immediately, was issued to all divisional police officers, DPOs, following growing concerns over incidents of robbery, abduction, and car theft linked to abandoned structures in satellite towns and new districts. In a statement on Tuesday, the FCT Police Public Relations Officer SP Josephine Ade said the Commissioner directed DPOs to intensify patrols and conduct thorough checks on all uncompleted and abandoned buildings within their jurisdiction. She explained that the move was part of proactive measures to deny criminals the use of abandoned or ongoing construction sites as operational bases. The police further urged property developers to visit the nearest divisions to document and profile all artisans, laborers, and security personnel residing at construction sites before the end of October 2025. They warned that anyone found loitering or sleeping in such locations after 6 p.m. without proper identification will be arrested. The police spokesperson also reminded residents that scavenging, popularly known as Babambola, remains banned in the FCT due to its connection with theft and vandalism. While emphasizing that security is a collective responsibility, the Commissioner called on estate associations, community leaders, and residents to support the police by reporting suspicious movements and ensuring all security guards and domestic staffs are properly profiled. ComfortTV.channel's news returns shortly with business, foreign, and sports news. Many thanks for staying tuned. This is ComfortTV.channel news on business. In a directive issued on October 3, 2025, the Apex Bank disclosed that effective November 3, 2025, all settlement of fixed income securities will migrate from the existing market-run system to the CBN in-house platform. According to the bank, the move forms part of its broader strategy to centralize oversight of the sovereign debt market, which is critical for liquidity management, interest rate transmission, and overall macroeconomic stability. The CBN explained that centralizing operations would help address long-standing challenges in the market, including fragmentation, inconsistent pricing, and limited transparency in secondary market flows. By assuming full control of fixed income operations, the CBN is signaling its intention to bring greater stability, transparency, and uniformity to one of the country's most important financial markets. Business. The Northern Elders Forum announced the establishment of the Northern Nigerian Economic Development Council (NNEDC), a new coordinating body to drive industrialization, attract investment, and harmonize development policies across the northern region. The announcement followed the successful conclusion of the Northern Nigeria Investment and Industrialization Summit and NIIS in Abuja, where participants pledged over $10 billion in new investments across mining, agriculture, and power. In a communique signed by the chairman of the NEF Board of Trustees, Professor Ango Abdullahi, the forum said the NNEDC would serve as the industrial framework for implementing a Northern Nigerian Economic Development Master Plan focusing on security, policy coherence, and private capital as pillars for the region's economic transformation. The two-day summit themed Unlocking Strategic Opportunities in Mining, Agriculture, and Power MAP 2025 brought together an extensive coalition of stakeholders, including federal government officials, northern governors, the NNDC, private sector leaders, development partners, financiers, academics, and civil society representatives. It featured strategic showcases, high-level addresses, panel discussions, and masterclasses exploring sectoral strengths, challenges, and investment opportunities in mining, agriculture, and power. Declaring the summit open, President Bola Tinubu, represented by Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, Mr. Wale Edun, reaffirmed the federal government's commitment to reviving northern Nigeria's economy through partnership and institutional capital mobilization. NEF in turn expressed appreciation for the president's support and pledged to ensure accountability in delivering on the national promise. At the event, governors from the Northwest, Northeast, and North Central regions signed the Northern Nigeria Economic Development Charter, committing their states to a unified regional economic division. On the foreign scene, Syrian government forces and U.S.-backed Kurdish-led rebels signed a ceasefire Tuesday after clashes in Aleppo left at least one person dead and several others injured. Clashes between government troops and the Syrian Democratic Forces erupted Tuesday when SDF militias attacked troops at two checkpoints in Aleppo. The state-run Syrian Arab News reported. The attacks injured at least 3 Syrian security troops and several civilians. Syrian forces retaliated by firing on buildings reportedly containing SDF forces. It is unclear if the SDF forces suffered any casualties. SDF spokesperson Farhad Shami denied accusations that its fighters carried out attacks on the Aleppo checkpoints, asserting that the rebel group had no forces in the area since April. Mr. Shami blamed Tuesday's violence on provocations from the Syrian government and urged Democrats to end its stifling siege of Aleppo. Tuesday's fighting muddies the deal from earlier this year aimed at integrating the SDF into the Syrian security forces. The U.S. brokered deal signed in March would see SDF forces combined with the Syrian army and the SDF leaders turn over key resources to Damascus by December. However, Syrian troops and SDF forces have traded blows since August, with each side blaming the other for the violence. The clashes have mostly occurred in northwestern Syria, where the SDF has its largest base of Kurdish support. Still on the foreign scene, peace talks between Israel and Hamas were resuming at an Egyptian resort city on Tuesday, the 2-year anniversary of the militant group's surprise attack on Israel that triggered the bloody conflict that has seen thousands of Palestinians killed in Gaza. The second day of indirect negotiations in the Red Sea resort of Sharm el-Sheikh are focused on a plan proposed by U.S. President Trump last week that aims to bring about an end to the war in Gaza. After several hours of talks on Monday, an Egyptian official with knowledge of the discussions said the parties agreed on most of the first phase terms, which include the release of hostages and establishing a ceasefire. The official spoke on condition of anonymity to discuss the private meetings. The plan has received widespread international backing, and Trump told reporters on Monday that he thought there was a really good chance of a lasting deal. Many uncertainties remain, however, including the demand that Hamas disarm and the future governance of Gaza. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has long said Hamas must surrender and disarm, but Hamas has not yet commented on whether it will be willing to. The plan envisions Israel withdrawing its troops from Gaza after Hamas disarms and an international security force being put in place. The territory would then be placed under international governance, with Trump and former UK Prime Minister Tony Blair overseeing it. On sports, Benin head coach Gernot Rohr is sweating over the fitness of his 4 players who could miss their March Day 9 and 10 World Cup qualifying matches against Group C rivals Rwanda and Nigeria. Rohr and part of the Cheetah squad arrived in Kigali on Monday, October 6, and are currently training daily at Amahoro Stadium, which will host the March Day 9 clash against Rwanda on Friday, October 10, before traveling to Akwa Ibom State, Nigeria for the qualifying decider against the Super Eagles on October 14. Players doubtful to play the upcoming matches include striker Olayton Jr., who was prevented by his Turkish club Gutsep from taking a flight from Istanbul to Kigali after doctors said that his medical condition does not allow him to travel for international duty. It's a decision that was not welcomed by Rohr and Benin FA, who reportedly insisted that recent medical tests by their doctors indicated that the player is fit to play. However, the club stubbornly refused to release him. Andreas Houtonji, who played for Burnley in England, is another striker who is doubtful for this match. He is currently in race to recover from the knock he picked over the weekend and be fit in time to play both matches. However, reports indicate he is still doubtful for the match. Meanwhile, Abdurrachid Moumini of Azerbaijan Premier League, Sumgait FK, and Rodolfo Aloko, who plays for NK Kustozjan in Croatia, were both ruled out of the matches due to injuries. Still on sports, Nigeria's under-17 women's national team, the Flamingos, will depart Abuja in the early hours of Wednesday en route Morocco as they begin the final preparations for the 2025 FIFA Under-17 Women's World Cup. The team is scheduled to arrive in Morocco's industrial and economic capital, Casablanca, where they will settle into camp before heading to Rabat for the tournament proper. In a statement by Ademola Olajire, NFF's head of communications, on Tuesday, the Flamingos will intensify their build-up with 2 high-profile international friendlies against New Zealand on Friday and Paraguay on October 14. The team will then move into the official FIFA hotel in Rabat on October 15, where all participating teams will be housed for the competition. The Flamingos have been drawn in Group D alongside Canada, France, and Samoa. Nigeria will kick off their campaign against Canada on October 19 before facing France 3 days later. Both matches scheduled for 8 p.m. Nigerian time. Their final group stage encounter will be against Samoa on October 25, with kickoff set for 5 p.m. Head coach Bankole Oloekere's side head into the tournament full of confidence, having played 10 tune-up matches, scoring an impressive 44 goals without conceding any. And that's our news bulletin for today, but before we go, here is a recap of our top stories. Chicago Airport gets approval for commercial flight operations. INEC says over 6.8 million Nigerians completed voter registration. Nigeria lost over 600,000 barrels of oil to Penngassan'S three-day strike. Pressure mounts on President Tinubu as senior lawyers, activists, others demands in Naji's sack. Senate President Akpabio and Kanu lead call for overhaul of Nigeria's constitution to rescue democracy. Others clamp down on uncompleted buildings, criminal hideouts in FCT. On business, CBN assumes full control of fixed income operation. Northern elders secure $10 billion for mining and agriculture power. On the foreign scene, Syrian army US-backed Kurdish rebels signed truce after fighting in Aleppo. And on sport, 4 Benin players ruled out of Rwanda-Nigeria clashes. Thanks for watching. For breaking news, exclusive interviews and more, follow us online at ComfortTV.channel on all platforms. Remember to like and share our videos, subscribe to our channel and click on the notification bell so you don't miss out on any updates. Until next time, I am Faith Kevin. Stay informed, stay connected.